All right, everyone. Amazon has decided to step in and ban a book that was co-authored by Tommy Robinson. It's on the topic of Islam, and if you actually go to the link in the description, there is a sublink that takes you to a page where you can get a copy of the book. So it's still available. It's just not available, I guess, through Amazon. I don't know what printer they'd be using thereafter. Maybe they must have bought a bunch of copies, because apparently it sold really, really well. So they probably stockpiled some copies against such an eventuality. Maybe you can get a signed copy. So I'll probably get a copy myself, to tell the truth. This is slightly chilling because Amazon largely has not done the censorship thing. Like, I know they went after Roosh at one point on some of his books on, like, I guess, basically using women, like that's an alpha thing, I guess, according to some people. Other than that, though, Amazon really hasn't done a lot of censorship for the most part. They've taken down like some XXX style material occasionally. Usually they don't even touch things that are like politically edgy for the most part, like even like Nazi scripture and stuff like that. Like, I think you can get Mein Kampf on Amazon. It's very telling that that's allowed, but Tommy Robinson's book isn't. Now here's the thing, internet culture time. 10 years ago, was criticism of Islam considered even to be edgy? No, people did it all the time. Liberals, conservatives, they're all sort of united under the banner of saying, look, because the conservatives said, well, fighting against Jesus sort of bullshit. And then the liberals would be like, well, it's oppressive towards, gays or women or in some way. And so they weren't really tolerant of it as an ideology, at least insofar as you've got hyper-religious sort of zealotry. I would say. Nobody ever cared about, like, some liberal Muslim family, like, yeah, we go to the mosque once in a while and, all is cool and that's basically it. Yeah, I had a pork sandwich the other day, I'm not really observant. Nobody really worries about liberal Christians either. It's the same thing. It's like, even at my most anti-religious, I never had a problem with, like, maybe a Unitarian or the average Episcopal or something. My main struggle was with what I called the fundies, which is the shorthand for fundamentalists, people that are really hardcore evangelical. The sort of people where they won't celebrate birthdays because they think it's like evil and pagan, but on Christmas, they have a birthday cake for Jesus or something like that, and which literally happens in some of these churches, or the people that speak in tongues and do snake handling and shit. That's basically the struggle. I'm finding it hard to believe that Amazon, considering the number of religiously critical materials on Amazon, and considering that there are some that are presumably more edgy than this particular book, I don't think Amazon, which hasn't so far, I guess, responded on why specifically this was banned, I don't think took it down because it's critical of Islam. I think they took it down because Tommy Robinson's name is on it. And I think that's very problematic because it means that they're bending to the same whims as like Facebook and Instagram. So far he's still apparently on YouTube. I mean, the thing is, alt tech, here's the problem I have with Amazon delving into censorship. Technically speaking, if you're kicked off YouTube, there is BitChute. There is Vimeo, there is Dailymotion, there is DTube. There are other technical alternatives. They're not nearly as big. They don't get nearly as much exposure. They're less stable and prone to occasionally falling out of business like VidMe did, although they made their own mistakes. They made their bed fucking lay in it. It could be because a bunch of Redditors were running it. That's why they sucked. In many ways. Although still, if you go to my VidMe link, oddly enough, it'll actually list, like, my other channel. It has an About Me thing on it still. It's like a skeleton site of some sort. Just doesn't have any videos there. It's actually weird because, I was clicking the link, I think accidentally, I'm like, oh, there's still something here. That's very odd. I'm still getting views on VidMe, therefore, at least on my channel profile. No, there's no way to interact with it. It's very strange. Or you think about Twitter. Gab is an alternative to Twitter. And then there's that one that Candace Owens was talking about. I think nobody uses really. Gab really launches ahead with Dissenter. And there's no reason to try to find a Gab alternative. Gab's already fine. With Facebook, you've got Minds. With Instagram, you've got plenty of photo posting sites on the internet. There are a dime a dozen. So with all of these other sites, there are services that they offer and there are alternatives to it. The problem is Amazon is unique in that as far as publishing goes, not e-commerce. On the e-commerce side, their competitors, look, you've got eBay, you've got Etsy, you've got Alibaba, and so forth. Understood. In fact, eBay is quickly rising back up sort of to prominence. They've been spoken of more lately. Their stock's been up. They've been expanding a bit, which is actually kind of funny because for a while they were sort of dwindling in the wake of Amazon's rise. Now it's sort of reversing. Amazon has no competition when it comes to self-publishing. which is what this involves. This involves a book that was published through the POD service, I believe. Well, there's a little bit of a problem. Like let's say that Amazon goes out of business tomorrow. I make most of my income at this point on editing and writing books, not on crowdfunding, not on getting crypto donations, not on my videos that I do that get hundreds of fucking thousand views sometimes. No, on books. That's my main income. If Amazon were to dry up, if they were to quit doing publishing on demand, or they fall out of business, or I get banned, which, you know, isn't going to happen. I don't do politically edgy stuff on Amazon for a reason. But if that were to happen, there is no other alternative to them. There is no other publishing on demand service in the world that you can utilize where you load the files there and they handle distribution. The only alternative are places like Lulu. Now, you can get things printed POD style there. You have to yourself buy the copies and distribute them yourself. They don't have distribution centers. They don't have lucrative content. They are a total monopoly when it comes to publishing on demand. So when I see that Tommy Robinson's book is kicked off of there, it's much more chilling. It's much more worrisome to me when Amazon, at least in its capacity as a publisher, or the banking system, it's much more draconian, dystopian, clearly wrong, and frightening, honestly, when those groups decide to ban things or suppress people or deplatform people systemically than if it's like a Twitter. Twitter, because ultimately you can use Gab. Or YouTube. Ultimately you can use BitChute. I mean, understood, primarily I'm a YouTuber, so it'd be a huge hit. But I can do that. I am number one on BitChute for a reason. Facebook is like nobody even uses it anymore. You should have a Minds account. What are you doing with your life? I mean, it's fucking crazy. Instagram, okay, give Zuckerberg more of your personal information so he can sell it to foreign nations and foreign companies. And they totally swear that they'll never store it and give it out to other people. They're only using it to analyze temporarily before scrapping it so they can service you ads. That's the only reason Zuckerberg sold your information to other countries. Yeah, totally. It's much more dystopian. By the way, I still find it astonishing. Well, basically, a lot of people in society are actually, liberals so-called, are accepting of the fact that a very small number of extremely wealthy corporatists and their corporations, their boardrooms, should be picking and choosing what people's consensus reality is. And they don't even, like, these are the same people that are like, oh, tax the rich more, we hate the rich, eat the rich, and stuff like that. The rich are the people now determining what you can and cannot say, communications worldwide. And you've accepted it because you gobbled down that swill about them only wanting to suppress hate. I remember 2 years ago when they started on the tech censorship end like they are now, it's only for people that are involved in real-world, demonstrable, hateful, violent behavior. Well, it's gone way beyond that. It has nothing to do with that anymore. You know, Tommy Robinson isn't going around looking for a fight. He writes a fucking book, makes a fucking Facebook post, gets deplatformed off most of the visible internet. Or you'd think about somebody like Milo. I don't know that Milo ever took a ball bat to a Jewish shop window or anything like that. Supposedly he did, and then like Alex Jones weighs in with regards to the Jack Dorsey thing with Tim Pool the other day. Is like, well, you know, what I was banned for I never did in the first place. It's bullshit, so they shouldn't have banned me. And then, on that token, it was funny to see them talking about, well, we do want to figure out a way that people can redeem themselves and get back on our platform. It's like, fuck your platform, dude. Who fucking cares? Oh my god, I got banned on Twitter. What will I ever do with my life? I'll have to shitpost somewhere else. That's what Twitter's for. It's a shitposting machine, dude. I started on Twitter because it's a notification machine to compensate for the fact that YouTube's algorithms weren't feeding out to my subscribers 99% of the videos that I made in their notification feed, despite them clicking the bell and subscribing. What's the point of subscribing if you don't get notified someone uploaded something? Doesn't go to their homepage, can't trend, non-related. It's like, what are you trying to say, dude? So yeah, I would say Amazon made a mistake here. They're not really apparently explaining why, but 99% chance it's because Tommy Robinson was involved with its creation, not because of its supposedly Islamophobic content. Look, criticism of religion is protected speech in the most in the most ultimate sense. There's no legitimate reason to start saying, well, we're going to start kicking things off that are critical of religion. It's a little bit too edgy for us. We don't want to piss anyone off. Oh, so in other words, irreligious people are like, you know, fuck them. They're not allowed to speak anymore. At least they're not allowed to self-publish materials anymore. Well, that's problematic because I remember 10 years ago on the internet, that was a very, very common thing that happened. Like the Draw Muhammad Day stuff was primarily a bunch of leftists involved. you'd have a few people that are like Jesus, Jesus, wave the flag, but mostly it was liberals. They're like, oh yeah, religion is the opiate of the masses, and we need to stand up for women and gay rights and stuff. And then Robinson gets like crucified for this. It doesn't make any sense to me. That's about all. Peace out.